The hallway smells like concrete dust, sweat, and expensive cologne. November 1972. Long Beach, California. The International Karate Championship. The biggest martial arts event in the Western world. Backstage at the Long Beach Arena. Not the polished front where 5,000 spectators sit in cushioned seats under clean white lights. The back, the ugly part. The part the audience never sees. Raw concrete walls. Exposed pipes running along the ceiling, dripping condensation in the humid California air. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, half of them flickering, casting shadows that jump and twitch like nervous animals. The floor is cracked linoleum, gray, stained with years of spilled coffee and dropped cigarettes and the muddy boot prints of 1,000 stage hands. It smells like a basement, feels like a basement. But this basement is where history lives tonight. Bruce Lee is here. Not in the arena, not on stage, backstage. In a private dressing room at the end of the hallway, room 14. The door is closed. 2 men stand outside it. Guards, not security guards, not arena staff. Personal protection. Bruce Lee's personal protection. The first is a Thai man named Somchai, 5'9", 180 pounds, former Muay Thai fighter, 40 professional fights, retired after a knee injury, ended his career at 28. Now he works for Bruce, has worked for Bruce for 3 years, loyal, quiet, dangerous in the way that quiet men are dangerous. Doesn't talk about what he can do, doesn't need to. The scars on his shins tell the story. The flattened knuckles tell the story. The way his eyes track every person who walks down this hallway tells the story. The second guard is the one everyone notices, the one everyone stares at, the one who makes people cross to the other side of the hallway when they see him coming. His name is Tong Po. Not his real name. Nobody knows his real name. Nobody asks. You don't ask questions to a man who stands 6 foot 4 inches tall and weighs 450 pounds. You don't make conversation with something that large. You don't even make eye contact unless you want those eyes to notice you. And you don't want those eyes to notice you. Tong Po is not fat. This needs to be understood clearly because people hear 450 pounds and they picture a sloppy, overweight man who breathes heavy climbing stairs. That is not Tong Po. Tong Po is 450 pounds of layered, dense, compressed human machinery. Muscle stacked on bone that has been thickened and hardened through 20 years of training that would kill a normal person. His neck is 26 inches. His chest is 62 inches. His arms are 24 inches around, cold, not flexed, not pumped, just standing there. His hands hang at his sides like 2 slabs of meat in a butcher's window. Each finger is the width of 2 normal fingers. His knuckles are calcified ridges, white and hard, from years of striking wooden posts and concrete walls and heavy bags, until the bags split open and spilled their sand guts across gym floors in Bangkok. He trained in Thailand from age 8. Muay Thai. The real kind, not the tourist version taught in air-conditioned gyms with padded floors. The village kind, the kind where children fight grown men for rice money, the kind where you kick banana trees until your shins bleed, then kick them again the next day when the blood has dried and the bone is screaming, the kind where trainers wrap your hands in hemp rope and dip them in resin and ground glass. Tong Po did this for 15 years, 87 professional Muay Thai fights, 87 victories, 79 by knockout or stoppage. Average fight duration, 90 seconds. He broke a man's femur with a single kick in 1968. The femur, the strongest bone in the human body, snapped it like a dry branch. The sound was heard in the fourth row. The man never walked normally again. Tong Po was 22 years old. By age 25, nobody in Thailand would fight him. Not because they couldn't, because they did the math. 450 pounds, 87 wins, 79 knockouts, broken femurs and shattered ribs and collapsed lungs, and one man who lost hearing in his left ear permanently from a single elbow strike. The math didn't work. No amount of prize money was worth what Tong Po would do to you in that ring. So he retired, became a bodyguard, the best kind, the kind you hire when the person you're protecting is the most famous martial artist on the planet, the kind you hire when fans and challengers and crazy people constantly approach your client wanting to fight, wanting to prove themselves, wanting to test the legend. Tong Po handles them, quietly, efficiently. Sometimes a look is enough, sometimes a word, sometimes his hand on your chest, pushing you backward with the casual force of a man moving furniture. Nobody has ever gotten past Tong Po to reach Bruce Lee. Nobody has ever tried twice. Tonight, Bruce Lee is preparing for a demonstration, a special one. The demonstration is scheduled for 10 p.m., main stage. Bruce Lee will perform a series of martial arts techniques for the audience. Jeet Kune Do, his creation, his philosophy made physical, the style that has no style, the system that rejects systems. He's done these demonstrations before: Hong Kong, Seattle, Oakland, Los Angeles. Each time the audience leaves different than they arrived, changed, rewired, seeing combat differently than they did 2 hours ago. That's what Bruce does. He doesn't just demonstrate techniques, he demonstrates ideas. He shows people that everything they think they know about fighting is wrong. But tonight is bigger. Tonight, there are cameras. ABC Sports has sent a crew, 2 cameras, a producer, a sound engineer. They're filming the entire championship for a special broadcast. Bruce Lee's demonstration is the centerpiece, the segment the network is most excited about, the segment that will introduce Bruce Lee to mainstream America, not as an actor, not as Kato from the Green Hornet, as what he really is, the greatest martial artist who has ever lived. The pressure is real. Bruce feels it. He won't admit it, but Somchai sees it. The way Bruce paces in the dressing room, the way he shadowboxes in short, sharp bursts, then stops, stares at the wall, then paces again. The way he keeps adjusting his black kung fu top, pulling at the sleeves, checking the collar in the mirror. Bruce Lee cares about presentation, cares about how he looks, cares about the image, because the image is the message. A small Chinese man performing devastating techniques in simple black clothing. No belt, no uniform, no tradition, just pure function. That's Jeet Kune Do. That's Bruce Lee. Strip away everything unnecessary until only the essential remains. At 9:15 p.m., there's a knock on the dressing room door. Somchai opens it. A young man stands there, arena staff, clipboard in hand, headset around his neck, nervous. Everyone is nervous around Tong Po, who stands to the left of the door like a wall of navy blue suit fabric and barely contained violence. "Mr. Lee, there's a situation," the young man says, looking past Somchai, trying to see into the room. Bruce appears at the door. "What situation?" "There's a man in the arena. He wants to meet you." Many people want to meet me. Tell him to wait until after the demonstration." The young man swallows. "Sir, he's not exactly asking to meet you. He's saying he wants to fight you." Bruce's expression doesn't change. "Who is he?" "His name is Chuck Norris. He's competing in the championship tonight. He won his division. He says he wants to challenge you to a public sparring match during your demonstration." Bruce pauses. Chuck Norris. He knows the name. Everyone in martial arts knows the name. 6-time undefeated world middleweight karate champion. Professional record that reads like fiction. 183 consecutive victories on the tournament circuit. Not a single loss. Black belt in Tang Soo Do at 22. Reserve degree black belt in Taekwondo. Trained in Judo. Trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before most Americans knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. The man is a legitimate fighting machine. A real one. Not a movie fighter. Not a tournament trophy collector. A man who has been hit and has hit back harder every single time for the last decade. Bruce has seen him fight. Watched film of the 1968 championship. Watched Chuck dismantle 3 opponents in one night. Clean technique, powerful kicks, a spinning back kick that generated more force than any technique Bruce had ever measured. And Bruce measures everything. He has notebooks, calculations, force equations, speed measurements, frame-by-frame analysis of fighters from every discipline. Chuck Norris occupies 14 pages in those notebooks. 14 pages of respect written in blue ink in Bruce Lee's precise handwriting. "Tell Mr. Norris I would be honored," Bruce says, "but not during my demonstration. After. Private. Backstage. Just him and me. No cameras, no audience, just 2 martial artists." The arena staff member nods, leaves quickly, grateful to be away from Tong Po's shadow. Bruce closes the door, turns to Somchai. "Somchai, I need the backstage loading area cleared at 11 p.m. No staff, no cameras, no one except you, Tong Po, and whoever Mr. Norris brings with him." Somchai nods. It will be done. Bruce returns to his mirror, adjusts his collar one more time. But now there's something different in his eyes. Excitement. The kind of excitement that only another fighter would recognize. The quiet electric hum of anticipation that runs through your body when you know you're about to face someone worthy. Someone who might actually push you. Someone who might show you something you don't know. At 9:30 p.m., word spreads backstage. Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Private sparring session after the show. Backstage loading area. The information moves through the arena's back corridors like electricity through wire. Stagehands tell security guards. Security guards tell medics. Medics tell other fighters. Within 20 minutes, every person working backstage knows, and every single one of them is planning to find a way to watch. At 10 p.m., Bruce takes the stage. The demonstration is flawless. 45 minutes of Jeet Kune Do philosophy made flesh. 1-inch punches that send 200-pound men stumbling backward. Kicks so fast the cameras can't capture them. The ABC crew keeps rewinding their footage between segments, watching in slow motion what their naked eyes couldn't process in real time. The audience is mesmerized. 5,000 people watching a 135-pound man move in ways that redefine what the human body can do. By 10:45 p.m., the demonstration is over. Standing ovation. 3 minutes of continuous applause. Bruce bows, smiles, waves, disappears backstage. But Bruce's mind isn't on the applause, hasn't been for the last 20 minutes. His mind is on what comes next, on the man waiting somewhere in this building, Chuck Norris, 183 consecutive victories, the most decorated karate champion in American history, the man Bruce Lee respects enough to dedicate 14 pages of handwritten notes to, the man he's about to meet in a concrete loading area with no cameras and no rules and no audience except bodyguards and shadows. At 10:55 p.m., Somchai reports the loading area is clear. 4,000 square feet of raw concrete, loading dock doors closed, overhead industrial lights, the yellow kind, harsh, unflattering, the kind that makes everyone look sick and tired, pallets of equipment stacked along the walls, coils of electrical cable, road cases for the sound system, the smell of diesel fuel from the trucks that delivered the equipment 3 days ago. Cold. November in California isn't freezing, but it's cold enough that breath shows in the air, cold enough that concrete floors steal heat from your feet through your shoes. Bruce arrives at 11 p.m. exactly. Black kung fu top, black pants, black shoes, Tong Po on his left, Somchai on his right. 3 men walking down a concrete corridor in silence. Their footsteps echo. Tong Po's footsteps are the loudest. 450 pounds on concrete sounds like a slow drum beat, like something ancient and heavy approaching. Chuck Norris is already there, standing center of the loading area, under the yellow lights. He's changed from his tournament uniform into street clothes, white t-shirt, jeans, tennis shoes, simple, clean. His tournament trophy is nowhere to be seen. Left it in his car. Doesn't matter here. Trophies don't fight, records don't fight, men fight. He's not alone. 2 men stand behind him, his training partners. Pat Johnson, 5'11", 185 pounds, black belt in multiple disciplines, Chuck's sparring partner for 6 years, and Bob Wall, 6'1", 210 pounds, former professional fighter, one of the toughest men in American karate, both standing with arms crossed, both watching the corridor entrance, both seeing Tong Po before they see anyone else, both involuntarily taking 1 step backward. Tong Po enters the loading area first. The space changes when he enters. The air gets heavier. The temperature seems to drop. His navy blue suit is too tight across the shoulders, intentionally. Bruce insists his guards wear suits when in public. Professional appearance, but no suit was made for a body like Tong Po's. The fabric strains across his chest. The buttons on his jacket are under constant pressure, tiny circles of tension holding back 450 pounds of compressed destruction. His shoes are custom made. Size 16, black leather. The soles are worn flat from carrying a weight that shoes were never designed to carry. He scans the room, eyes moving left to right, ceiling to floor, checking exits, checking corners, checking shadows. This is what he does, every room, every time. He's been doing it for 3 years. He will do it until Bruce tells him to stop, or until something in one of those rooms tries to hurt Bruce Lee. Then he will do something else, something the room will remember. Pat Johnson leans toward Chuck, whispers, "That's the biggest human being I've ever seen." Chuck doesn't respond. He's watching Bruce. Bruce is watching him. The 2 men lock eyes across 40 feet of concrete, and something passes between them. Not hostility, not aggression, recognition. The way 2 predators recognize each other in the wild. The way 2 storms recognize each other on the horizon. Equal force, equal danger, equal respect. Bruce walks forward. Tong Po follows one step behind. Somchai stays by the entrance, guarding, always guarding. Bruce stops 10 feet from Chuck. They look at each other. Bruce is 5'7", 135 pounds. Chuck is 5'10", 170 pounds. Chuck has 35 pounds on him, 3 inches of height, longer reach, more tournament experience, more professional fights. Bruce speaks first. "Mr. Norris, thank you for staying." Chuck nods. "Mr. Lee, thank you for agreeing. I've wanted to test myself against you for 2 years." Bruce tilts his head slightly. "Test yourself?" Chuck pauses, measures his next words. "See where I stand. Against the best." Bruce doesn't smile, doesn't react, just absorbs the words, processes them, then responds with 5 words that hang in the cold concrete air like smoke. "Let's find out together, then." They circle each other, slowly. No rush, no urgency. 2 men who have spent their entire lives studying combat, studying movement, studying the space between intention and action. The concrete floor is cold under their feet. The yellow overhead lights cast long shadows that move with them, dancing across pallets and road cases like dark puppets mimicking a ritual. Tong Po stands by the wall, arms at his sides, watching. His face shows nothing, but his weight has shifted slightly to the balls of his feet, ready, always ready. Pat Johnson whispers to Bob Wall, "This is the most dangerous room in America right now." Bob doesn't respond. He's watching Chuck's footwork, watching the way Chuck measures distance, the way his weight transfers from foot to foot, like water pouring between 2 cups. Smooth, continuous, never still, never planted, always ready to explode in any direction. Bruce moves differently. His stance is lower, wider. His hands float in front of him, not in fists, open, relaxed, fingers slightly spread, like he's reading the air between them, like the air itself is giving him information about Chuck's intentions, Chuck's balance, Chuck's next move before Chuck himself has decided what it will be. Chuck attacks first. A front kick, fast, textbook Tang Soo Do. The kind of kick that has won him tournaments. The kind that has crumpled opponents like paper bags. His right leg extends with mechanical precision, aimed at Bruce's midsection, generating enough force to crack ribs on a normal human being. Bruce isn't there. Doesn't block, doesn't parry, simply isn't where the kick arrives. He's moved 2 inches to the left, just 2 inches. The kick passes his hip so close, it brushes the fabric of his pants. Chuck feels the miss immediately. Not a clean miss, a controlled miss. Bruce didn't dodge. He displaced. Minimum movement, maximum efficiency. The signature of a man who has calculated combat down to fractions of inches. Chuck resets, throws a combination. Roundhouse kick to spinning back fist, his signature technique. The combination that ended 47 of his 183 victories. The roundhouse is a distraction. The spinning back fist is the kill shot. It comes from an angle the opponent doesn't expect, generating rotational force that multiplies the impact beyond what a straight punch can deliver. Bruce slips the roundhouse, ducks under the spinning back fist, and as Chuck's rotation carries him around, Bruce is standing exactly where Chuck started. They've switched positions. Chuck is now facing the wall. Bruce is now facing the open space. Better position, superior angle, and he did it without throwing a single technique. Just moved, just existed in the right place at the right time. like water filling a space that was momentarily empty. Pat Johnson's mouth is open. He's trained with Chuck for 6 years. He's seen every fighter on the American circuit try to deal with that combination. Nobody has ever made it look easy. Nobody has ever made it look like nothing. Bruce Lee just made Chuck Norris's best technique look like a suggestion that he politely declined. Chuck pauses, breathes, recalibrates. He's not frustrated. He's fascinated. This is why he came. This is what 183 victories couldn't give him. A mirror. Someone who shows you where your edges are, where your technique ends and empty space begins. Bruce is showing him those edges without saying a word. Bruce speaks. Your back fist. You drop your left shoulder before you spin. Half an inch. But I can see it. Chuck absorbs this, nods slowly, doesn't argue, doesn't defend, just absorbs, files it away. A gift, technical knowledge from the greatest martial artist alive, given freely in a concrete basement under yellow lights. "Show me," Chuck says. Bruce demonstrates, throws the same combination Chuck just threw. Roundhouse to spinning back fist, but different. The roundhouse is looser, less telegraphed. The spinning back fist comes from a slightly different angle. The shoulder stays level, no drop, no tell, no warning. The fist arrives from nowhere. Chuck doesn't see it coming, even though he knows it's coming. It stops 1 inch from his temple. 1 inch, the distance between demonstration and damage, between teaching and hurting, between Bruce Lee the fighter and Bruce Lee the teacher. Chuck doesn't flinch, doesn't move, looks at the fist hovering beside his head, looks at the man behind it, smiles. That's the difference, isn't it? Bruce lowers his hand. That's one difference. There are others. Show me all of them. Bruce tilts his head. All of them? That would take years. Then we'd better start tonight. The tension in the room shifts. What was a sparring match is becoming something else, a conversation, an exchange. Two masters finding common language in a dialect that only they speak fluently. Tong Po senses the shift. His weight moves back to his heels. The immediate threat has passed. This is no longer combat. This is education. For the next 30 minutes, Bruce and Chuck exchange techniques. Bruce shows Chuck the 1-inch punch, places his fist against Chuck's chest, explains the mechanics. The force comes from the ground, Bruce explains, not from the arm, not from the shoulder, from the earth, through the foot, through the hip, through the torso. The arm is just the last link in a chain that starts at the center of the planet. He demonstrates 1 inch of distance between his fist and Chuck's chest. A small movement, barely visible. The sound it makes is not what anyone expects. Not a slap, not a thud, a crack, like a bullwhip snapping. Chuck stumbles backward 3 feet, 3 feet from 1 inch of movement. His eyes go wide, not pain, surprise. The kind of surprise that rewrites everything you thought you knew about physics, about force, about what the human body is capable of generating. Pat Johnson catches Chuck's arm, steadies him. His face is white. He felt the shock wave through Chuck's body, felt it travel through the arm he was holding, like standing next to a building when lightning hits. You don't get struck, but you feel it. You feel everything shake. Chuck straightens up, touches his chest where Bruce's fist connected. There will be a bruise tomorrow. Circular, the exact size and shape of Bruce Lee's knuckles. He'll keep that bruise like a souvenir. Won't tell anyone how he got it. Just looks at it in the mirror every morning for 2 weeks, while it fades from purple to yellow to memory. Again, Chuck says. Bruce raises an eyebrow. Again? Please. Bruce demonstrates again. Same punch, same distance, same result. Chuck stumbles, but less this time. He was ready. Knew what was coming. Still couldn't stop it. Still couldn't absorb it. Still felt like being kicked by a horse from 1 inch away. They continue. Chuck shows Bruce his spinning heel kick, the technique he's most proud of. The kick that generates 2,100 pounds of force per square inch, more than any other human technique ever measured. Bruce watches, studies. His eyes track the movement the way a computer tracks data, processing, analyzing, breaking it down into components that can be understood and reassembled and improved. Beautiful, Bruce says, the only word he uses, beautiful. Coming from Bruce Lee in this context, in this basement, under these lights, it's the highest compliment in martial arts. Chuck feels it, knows what it means, files it alongside the bruise on his chest in the archive of things that changed him. At 11:40 p.m., something happens that nobody planned, nobody expected. The thing that turns this night from a sparring session into a legend, into the story that both men will tell for the rest of their lives. Tong Po moves, not because Bruce told him to, not because there's a threat, because of instinct, because of something he saw that his conscious mind hasn't processed yet but his body has already responded to. The door to the loading area opens. A man walks in, unauthorized, unknown. A drunk fan who somehow found his way backstage, stumbling, loud, calling out for Bruce Lee. Want to fight Bruce Lee? Where's Bruce Lee? I can beat Bruce Lee. Tong Po intercepts him in 4 steps that cover 20 feet of concrete in less than 2 seconds, 450 pounds moving at a speed that shouldn't be possible. The drunk man doesn't even see him coming. One moment there's empty space between him and the loading area. The next moment there's a wall, a human wall, 6 feet 4, 450 pounds, navy blue suit, eyes like 2 black stones at the bottom of a frozen river. Cold, dead, ancient. Tong Po's hand grabs the drunk man's shirt, lifts him. One hand. 450 pounds of base lifting, whatever this man weighs, 180 maybe, 190. Like lifting a bag of groceries, the drunk man's feet leave the ground. His face changes from drunk bravery to immediate, absolute primal terror. The kind of fear that sobers you instantly. The kind that makes your body release every chemical it has because every cell understands simultaneously that death is holding you by the shirt. And this is where it happens. This is the moment. Chuck Norris sees Tong Po lift this man, and something triggers inside him. Not anger, not heroism, instinct. The same instinct that won him 183 consecutive fights. The instinct that says wrong. This is wrong. That man is going to get hurt. Badly. Chuck moves, crosses the loading area in 3 strides. His hand lands on Tong Po's wrist, the wrist holding the drunk man in the air. Chuck's grip is strong. Years of training, years of iron palm conditioning, years of grip strength work that most martial artists ignore. His fingers close around Tong Po's wrist and squeeze. Put him down. 2 words. Quiet. Calm. Not a request. A statement. The way you tell gravity which direction to pull. The way you tell the sun when to rise. Inevitable. Inarguable. Absolute. Tong Po turns his head slowly. Looks down at Chuck Norris. Down at the hand on his wrist. Down at this man who is 280 pounds lighter than him and has just made the worst decision of his life. Tong Po drops the drunk man. Not because Chuck asked, not because the grip on his wrist forced him, because the drunk man is irrelevant now. There's something more interesting happening, something Tong Po's '87 fight career has trained him to recognize, a challenge, a real one, not a drunk fool, a fighter, a real fighter, standing right here, hand on his wrist, eyes locked, unafraid. The drunk man hits the concrete floor, scrambles backward on his hands and knees, disappears through the door he came in. Gone, forgotten. He doesn't matter anymore. He never mattered. He was just the match that lit the fuse. Tong Po turns his full body toward Chuck. 450 pounds, rotating like a gun turret, finding its target. Slow, mechanical, inevitable. His eyes lock onto Chuck's face with the flat, empty focus of a predator that has identified prey. Not anger. Tong Po doesn't feel anger the way normal people do. He feels something else, something simpler, something older. The recognition that a threat exists and the automatic, instinctive calculation of how to eliminate it. Chuck doesn't release the wrist. His fingers are still wrapped around it. He can feel the tendons underneath, thick as electrical cables. He can feel the pulse, slow, terrifyingly slow, 50 beats per minute maybe, the resting heart rate of something that doesn't experience stress, something that has been in so many violent situations that violence itself has become as routine as breathing. Tong Po speaks for the first time. His voice is deep, not loud, deep, the kind of deep that you feel in your sternum before you hear it in your ears, the kind that resonates in the concrete walls and the metal loading dock doors and the fillings in your teeth. One word, Thai accent, broken English. Remove. Chuck doesn't remove, doesn't flinch, doesn't blink. Looks up at Tong Po the way a man looks at a mountain he's decided to climb, not with fear, with assessment, measuring the height, calculating the route, understanding the danger but committing to the ascent anyway. Bruce Lee watches from 15 feet away. He hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. His arms are crossed, his expression is unreadable. Somchai has stepped forward from the entrance, hand inside his jacket, reaching for something. Bruce raises one hand without looking at Somchai. Stop! Somchai freezes. Bruce wants to see what happens, needs to see what happens, because in this moment, two of the most dangerous men he's ever known are standing 3 feet apart, and one of them belongs to him, and the other has earned his respect, and he needs to know how this resolves. Tong Po's free hand rises, the left hand, the one not being held by Chuck. It rises slowly, deliberately, like a crane lifting a wrecking ball. The hand opens, fingers spread, each finger the width of a cigar. The palm is scarred and calloused, a landscape of old violence mapped in white tissue and hardened skin. The hand moves toward Chuck's chest, toward the collar of his white T-shirt, the same gesture he uses on everyone. The casual push, the furniture-moving technique, the thing he does to people who don't understand the first time. His hand reaches Chuck's collar. Fingers close around the fabric. The cotton stretches. Chuck feels the pull, feels 450 pounds of intent behind 5 fingers on his shirt, feels himself being drawn forward, toward Tong Po, toward the chest that is 62 inches around, toward the face that has never shown mercy in 87 professional fights. The people in the room stop breathing. Pat Johnson's hand moves toward Chuck instinctively. Bob Wall takes a step forward. Bruce Lee uncrosses his arms. Somchai's hand tightens on whatever is inside his jacket. The air itself seems to thicken. Every molecule in this loading area is holding its breath. Tong Po lifts, not fully, not like the drunk man, but the pull is upward. Chuck feels his heels leave the concrete, just slightly, just the heels. The balls of his feet still touching the ground, but the message is clear. I can lift you. I can pick you up like I picked up that drunk fool. You are 170 pounds. I lift 170 pounds in my sleep. You are nothing to me. You are furniture. You are a bag of groceries. You are something I move from one place to another with one hand. Chuck feels it, feels the raw, impossible strength flowing through that grip on his collar, feels gravity losing the argument with Tong Po's left hand, feels his body weight becoming irrelevant in the presence of something stronger than physics should allow a human being to be. And in that moment, standing on the balls of his feet, collar gripped by 450 pounds of Thai destruction, heels off the concrete, the loading area lights humming overhead, Bruce Lee watching silently, Pat Johnson reaching, Bob Wall stepping, Somchai gripping, the cold November air pressing against the loading dock doors. In that exact moment, Chuck Norris makes a decision. The decision that changes everything. The decision that 50 years later, old martial artists in dojos around the world still whisper about. The decision that proves what Chuck Norris is made of. Not muscle, not technique, something else entirely. Chuck doesn't strike Tong Po's arm, doesn't try to break the grip on his collar, doesn't kick, doesn't punch, doesn't do any of the things that 183 consecutive victories have trained his body to do automatically when threatened. Instead, he does something far more dangerous, far more calculated, far more Chuck Norris. He lets go of Tong Po's wrist, opens his hand, releases the grip that was his only physical connection to controlling this situation. His right hand drops to his side, empty, relaxed. Then his left hand drops, both hands at his sides. No guard, no stance, no defense, standing in the grip of a 450-pound monster with both hands deliberately, consciously, voluntarily lowered. The room doesn't understand. Pat Johnson makes a sound, something between a gasp and a word that doesn't fully form. Bob Wall freezes mid-step. Even Somchai, trained to show nothing, lets confusion flicker across his face for half a second. But Bruce Lee understands. His eyes narrow. The corner of his mouth twitches, not a smile, something deeper, recognition. He sees what Chuck is doing, sees the strategy, sees the brilliance of it, and for the first time tonight, Bruce Lee feels something he rarely feels. Admiration, not for technique, for mind, for the intelligence of a man who understands that the most powerful thing you can do when a 450-pound monster grabs your collar isn't fight back. It's refuse to fight at all. Chuck looks up at Tong Po, directly into those black stone eyes, and speaks. His voice hasn't changed. Same volume, same calm, same absolute control, like he's ordering breakfast, like he's commenting on the weather, like 450 pounds isn't lifting him off the ground by his shirt. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here because a man was about to get hurt, and I couldn't watch that happen. Now you can do one of two things. You can put me down, and we can talk about this like professionals, or you can try to hurt me. But if you try to hurt me, you need to know something first. He pauses. 1 beat. 2 beats. The loading area is so silent you can hear the fluorescent lights aging. You can hear the condensation dripping from the pipes. You can hear Pat Johnson's heart beating from 12 feet away. Your boss is watching, and whatever happens in the next 10 seconds, he'll see everything. Everything you do. Everything I do. And I promise you, on my mother's name, what he sees will not be what you expect. The words land like stones dropped into still water, ripples spreading outward through everyone in the room, through Pat Johnson and Bob Wall and Somchai and Bruce Lee, and through Tong Po himself, through 450 pounds of muscle and scar tissue and calcified bone and the memory of 87 professional fights, won by violence. The words land there, too, in the part of Tong Po that still thinks, that still calculates, that still understands consequence and reputation and the difference between a drunk fool and a man who lowers both hands when you grab his collar. Tong Po's eyes shift, just slightly, away from Chuck, toward Bruce, his employer, his responsibility, the man whose safety justifies every act of violence Tong Po has ever committed in his service. Bruce Lee stands 15 feet away, arms at his sides now, watching. His face gives nothing, no instruction, no permission, no prohibition, just watching, letting this play out, letting these two men find their own resolution. Tong Po looks back at Chuck, studies him. For 5 seconds, 6, 7, the longest 7 seconds in the room's history. 7 seconds during which every person present ages a year. 7 seconds during which the condensation drops fall from the pipes and hit the concrete floor, and the sound they make is thunderous in the silence. Then Tong Po opens his hand. The fingers release Chuck's collar one by one, pinky first, then ring finger, then middle, then index, then thumb, slow, deliberate, each finger a decision, each release a concession, not surrender, recognition. The same recognition that Victor Kozlov showed in a story that hasn't happened yet and doesn't need to, because this moment is real enough on its own. Chuck's heels touch concrete again, flat-footed, grounded. His collar is stretched. The white cotton is wrinkled and pulled out of shape. Tong Po's fingerprints are pressed into the fabric, 5 indentations that Chuck will never wash out, that will remain in that shirt until the cotton disintegrates, evidence, proof. The physical memory of the night a 450-pound monster grabbed Chuck Norris by the collar, and Chuck Norris responded by lowering both hands. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. The loading area holds its breath for 3 more seconds. Then Bruce Lee walks forward. His footsteps are the only sound. Soft, measured, each step placed with the precision of a man who has spent his life understanding the relationship between ground and gravity and the human foot. Bruce stops between them, looks at Tong Po, then at Chuck, then back at Tong Po, and speaks in Thai, rapid, fluid. The words are short and clipped and carry the tone of absolute authority. Somchai translates later, years later, in an interview he gives to a martial arts magazine in 1998. Bruce said 2 sentences in Thai. The first was, "This man is my guest." The second was, "You will protect him the way you protect me." Tong Po's reaction is immediate. His posture changes. The predator stance dissolves. His shoulders drop 2 inches. His hands, those massive scarred weapons, move behind his back. clasped, respectful, the military rest position, the position a soldier takes when a superior officer enters the room. In one sentence, Bruce Lee transformed Chuck Norris from a target into a principal, from someone Tong Po would destroy into someone Tong Po would die for. That's the power Bruce Lee held over this man. Not physical power, something deeper. Loyalty. The kind that doesn't question. The kind that rewires behavior with a single sentence spoken in Thai in a cold loading area at 11:47 p.m. on a November night in Long Beach, California. Chuck watches this transformation, sees the 450-pound monster become a 450-pound guardian in the space of a heartbeat, sees the eyes change from predator to protector, sees the hands move from weapons ready to weapons stored, and in that moment, Chuck Norris understands something about Bruce Lee that no sparring session could have taught him, that no technique exchange could have revealed. Bruce Lee doesn't just fight differently. He leads differently, commands differently, exists differently. He has turned a man who could tear a car apart with his bare hands into a man who clasps those hands behind his back because a 135-pound martial artist told him to with 7 words in Thai. Bruce turns to Chuck, speaks in English. The tone has changed, warmer. The formality is gone. Something happened between these two men in the last hour that transcended the sparring, the techniques, the 1-inch punch, the spinning heel kick. Something was tested beyond martial arts. Character was tested. And Chuck Norris passed a test he didn't know he was taking. "I owe you dinner," Bruce says. Chuck blinks. "Wasn't expecting that." "Dinner? You stopped my man from making a mistake tonight. That drunk fool would have been hurt, badly. Tong Po doesn't understand proportional response. He understands eliminate and ignore. There is no middle ground. You created a middle ground, with your hands at your sides. That takes something I can't teach." They leave the loading area together. Bruce, Chuck, Tong Po, Somchai, Pat Johnson, Bob Wall. 6 men walking through a concrete corridor at midnight, their footsteps creating a rhythm that sounds like a heartbeat. Tong Po walks behind Chuck now. Not beside Bruce, behind Chuck, protecting him, following the instruction given in Thai, protecting this man the way he protects Bruce Lee. Chuck can feel him back there, 450 pounds of shadow. 150 pounds that tried to lift him off the ground 15 minutes ago, and now walks behind him like a guardian angel made of concrete and scar tissue. They find a restaurant, open late, Chinatown, the kind of place that doesn't close because the owner lives upstairs, and the kitchen is always warm, and there's always soup, and there are always noodles, and the tea never stops flowing. They sit in a round booth, Bruce and Chuck side by side, Tong Po at the end, his massive frame overflowing the booth seat, one leg in the aisle because the booth simply cannot contain all of him, Somchai by the door, watching, always watching. They talk until 3 a.m. Not about fighting, about philosophy, about purpose, about what martial arts means when you strip away the tournaments and the trophies and the cameras and the crowds, about what's left when 2 men stand in a concrete room under yellow lights and discover that they speak the same language, even though one speaks Cantonese and the other speaks English, and the language they share has no words at all. Bruce tells Chuck something that night that Chuck repeats in every interview for the next 50 years. every single one, word for word, never changes it, never embellishes it, because the words don't need embellishment, they are complete. The best fighter is not a boxer, a karate man, or a judo man. The best fighter is someone who can adapt to any style. But the best warrior is someone who doesn't need to fight at all. Tonight, you showed me a warrior. You had 183 reasons to strike that man. 183 victories that told your body to fight, and you chose to lower your hands. That is mastery, not of combat, of self. Chuck carries those words for the rest of his life, writes them in the front page of every journal he keeps, teaches them to every student who walks into his dojo, tells the story of the night in Long Beach to anyone who asks about Bruce Lee. Not the sparring, not the 1-inch punch, the loading area, the collar grab, the moment he chose to lower his hands, and Tong Po. The 450-pound monster, 87 fights, 79 knockouts, the man who broke a femur with one kick. He never speaks about that night, never tells anyone what happened. But every time Chuck Norris visits Bruce Lee after that night, Tong Po greets him at the door, opens it personally, steps aside, and bows. The same bow each time, deep, formal, the bow of a man who grabbed another man's collar and found something there he didn't expect. Not a victim, not a target, not furniture to be moved. A warrior, standing with both hands at his sides, unafraid, immovable. The only man who ever made Tong Po open his hand, one finger at a time.